called the source of all auspiciousness. I believe, especially if you're on Zoom, you probably already have the text. If not, you can find this text in various places online. But the particular translation or wording that I'm using can be found on the tibetanspirit.com website. So if you go to tibetanspirit.com and search for source of all auspiciousness, you should be able to find that product page. Right now, that product is for a free download, which means that you'll get a PDF file when you do the purchase. Of course, the purchase is no purchase, it's free. So go there and get the text if you don't have it. Then in about, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, we will start. This is the second part. First part, I covered kind of the background information, and we started to look at the text. So today, hopefully, we'll be able to finish looking at the rest of the text. As we wait before we formally start, in case any of you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. With some basic opening prayers, which I am going to say one time first in English, and then I'm going to chant in Tibetan. So if you know the chant, please join. If you don't know, just reflect on the meaning that is going to be read out in English. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in a state of the most perfect and precious awakening. Thus, until I achieve awakening, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until awakening is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all migratory beings. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness in the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Dala Nama Jebe Dha Nobar Jebe Gek Tarbadan Tam Je Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Je Kisu Jebe Manam Kadang Nyambe Zinjen Tam Je Deva Dan Den Dunga Dan Du Lana Me Payang Dabra Zobe Chanju Rinpo Je To Praja Dala Nama Jebe Dha Nobar Jebe Gek Tarbadan Tam Je Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Je Kisu Jebe Manam Kadang Nyambe Zinjen Tam Je Deva Dan Den Dunga Dan Du Lana Me Payang Dobra Sobe Chanju Rinpo Je To Praja nala nova jebe dran obar jebe ge tarba dan tam je gembe bardu jobra jeba tam jege jebe man angada gambe senjen tam je dewa dan den dunga dan le de la na me baya dabra zobe chanjurim buje do braja Doma Jebedra, Nobar Jebenge, Tarbadan, Tam Jegembe, Bardu, Jobra Jeba, Tam Jegis, Jebe, Manangadan, Nambe, Zenjen, Tam Jedewa, Tam de Dunga, Dande, Nedulana, Mepa, Yan, Habra, Zobe, Janju. Do para de sama gege bardu lunga izum gewala go mashe bardu lunga izum gewala go du dering ne sunde nema santa samye bardu lunga izum gewala go sangye jodan soge jonamla chanchu bardu dane gebzu je dage jinsu gebe sonange Rola Benje Sangye Lubra Shu Sangye Jodan Soge Jonamla Janjo Barde Dane Gyabzu Je Dage Jinso Gebe Sonange Jola Benje Sangye Lubra Shu Sangye Jodan Soge Jonamla Janjo Barde Dane Gyabzu Je Dage Jinso Gebe Sonange Drola Benje Sangye Lubra Shu Nanga dang nyambe senjen tamje dewa da dewe gindan debra gyuji dunga dan dunya gi gyudan dewa gyuji dunga mebe dewa gyuji niring chadan nidan dewe danyang la nebra gyuji Nanga dan nyambe senjen tamje dewa dan dewe gindan debra gyuji Dunga dan dunga ge gyudan dewa gyuji dunga mebe dewa dame dewa gyuji Nidin chadan nidan dewa danyan la nebra gyuji ma nanga dan nyambe senjen tamje Dewen gindan dambara gyuji dunga dan dunga ge gyudan dewa gyuji dunga mebe dewa dame dewa gyuji Nidin chadan nidan dewa danyan la nebra gyuji So good morning and good evening if you're on the other side of the world. There's probably a handful of you. We are on Zoom and we are also live streaming on Facebook. So first of all, many places today, the second Sunday of May is celebrated as Mother's Day. I don't know how all this started. I think it used to be that we would say that Hallmark, for those of you who don't know Hallmark, that means you're very young. Hallmark is the company that makes all these greeting cards. So we say that Mother's Day was probably created by Hallmark. And then there is Father's Day, then there is Grandfather's Day, Grandmother's Day, Grandchild's Day, and then Secretary Day, Boss Day, you know. Everybody gets a day so that Walmart can sell more cards. But now, selling or without selling cards, it's a good day to be celebrating Mother's Day. So in our prayers especially, this expression, Ma Sem Chen, in Tibetan, Ma Sem Chen, or Ma Gyur. This Ma Semchen, or here, Ma Nam Kadang Nyampe Semchen. Ma Nam Kadang Nyampe Semchen is like sentient beings who are like our mothers and without limit like space. So here, this expression, mother sentient beings, is to remind us of the kindness of our mothers. So this is a good day to reflect on the kindness of our mothers. Now, when we reflect on the kindness of our mothers, some of us might, because of our life experience, might think, oh, well, I didn't have such a good mother, or this or that, The key here is not to look at how your mother did not measure up to your expectations. If you get caught up in that, then there's no end to who matches and who doesn't match our expectations. But it's to try to see and try to focus on even one act of kindness, to recognize that and to appreciate that. Then we open our capacity. Then we open our capacity to be able to experience kindness and love. Loving kindness, metta, is the word that we're familiar with. It's often translated as loving kindness. It can also be sort of has connotations that we use in English for friendliness. So this is not passionate love, but this is a a wish of well-being, but deep and abiding, not easily disappearing. And so that's why the image of mother is used. So it's the kindness and the care that is deep and abiding. Of course, our mothers, like ourselves, are probably also still under the power, right, of the afflictive emotions. So they may or may not know how to show this kindness, how this love. But again, if we just focus on how little I got, how unfortunate I am, then it defeats the whole purpose of thinking about the kindness of mothers. So Buddha says, actually, we should begin by reflecting first on the kindness of our mother in this lifetime. And then from there, after developing that warmth, that sense of warmth that comes up when we reflect on the kindness of our mothers, then we need to extend this warmth, this wish of well-being, not just to our mothers, but to all beings, and to recognize them, to recognize all beings as have been kind to us, as our mother have been kind to us. So anyway, happy Mother's Day. So now let's go to the topic that we said we're going to talk about today. Even that, right? I should talk about this topic. You should listen to this topic with, particularly today, a stronger remembrance, mindfulness, recognition that all the Dharma practices that we do, in fact, as much as we can all our life, right? We need to think about the welfare and the happiness of all beings. Not the temporary welfare and happiness of all beings, but the ultimate welfare and happiness of all beings. Of course, whatever we can do, to whatever degree we're capable of, able to, depending on our circumstance, to help beings, to help others achieve even temporary happiness, temporary relief from suffering. That we do. But bodhicitta is about the ultimate happiness and separation from suffering of all beings, which is to help them achieve the state of Buddha. in order to help them to achieve the state of Buddha, we ourselves first need to achieve the state of Buddha, to be awake. So, last week we started looking at this practice, this text called the source of all auspiciousness. So to quickly, the source of all auspiciousness is a terma-text that was concealed, according to tradition, by Guru Rinpoche Pema Sambhava in the Drikung area in central Tibet. Then centuries later, during the time of the 17th throne holder of the Drikung Kagyu, the 17th throne holder was Gyalwang Rinchen Puntsok. He recovered this text, which Guru Rinpoche had hid in Drikung area. So he recovered this text as a terma-text, and then this text has come down to us today. Then again, cleansing offering is a translation of the Tibetan Sangchö. Chö is to offer. Then chö spells differently. Another similar sounding word, chö, is the practice of cutting. Different word from the chö here. Chö here is chupa, meaning offering. In the practice, with the fancy drum and thigh bone trumpet and bell and beautiful melodies, that's called chut. Sounds the same, but there it's spelled differently. That one is to cut, to sever, meaning to cut attachment, to sever our attachment. In severing our attachment to self-grasping, then it said all demons are severed. Rather than going around trying to, kill demons, rather than, aspiring to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer, this chut, to cut, to sever, is to cut self-grasping. Here, sangchö, chö is to offer. So sang is to clean, to cleanse, to remove impurities. So we translate as the cleansing offering. Cleansing offering. So last week I also talked about there's another word which is no sang. No sang. Sang again is to cleanse. No is contamination. No sang. No sang is contamination, or the cleansing of contaminants, that which has contaminated us. So then, etymologically, this Tibetan word no has a much older meaning that predates the arrival of Buddhism in Tibet. And there, in that very early meaning, no is a particular type of contamination. But today, or since arrival of Buddhism in Tibet, so you could say effectively for the last 1,000 years, no has the general meaning of contamination. So the notion there is that when we are contaminated, then our natural vitality, our natural wellness, our natural well-being becomes weakened. Whenever contamination is present, then we become weak. Then again, predating arrival of Buddhism in Tibet, Tibetans have this, you could say, natural understanding, because I think this natural understanding is found throughout all human cultures. That this understanding, this recognition that each of us, when we are born, we have a particular vitality, right? a particular energy associated with each of us. So a particular child is, more susceptible to, say, temperature change. Another child is susceptible to sound, like sound, doesn't like sound, loud sounds, soft sounds, bright lights, dark lights, cold, hot, right? So that means that each individual is born with a particular constitution, physical constitution, physical, emotional constitution, because those are very much, right, interrelated. Physically, something changed. Emotionally, something changed. Emotionally, something changed. Physically, something changes. So each person has a particular set of likes and dislikes and comfort and discomfort, mentally, physically. So then there's this notion that each of us are born with these la. La as in, these days translated as gods. But that is, I want to suggest that that language of God is using a particular vocabulary, using mythic vocabulary, using religious vocabulary. We call them la. But equally, this la, can be understood as in non-religious terms. Then you could say, your basic constitution, your immune system, right? The antibodies that exist in that is in your body, your ability to fight, infections, all those, you can think of that. That's what we mean by la. So each of us have a particular set of la. Now, of course, each culture has further elaborations about what kinds of vital energies, what kinds of gods or goddesses or protector, and then this notion of like your personal, your angel, right? Or the angels. And so like in China too, there's the notion of these protecting gods that each of us are born with. So then going back to the notion of contamination. So even predating Buddhism, Tibetans have really developed a clear sense of like, when certain actions are done, and beyond that, not just actions that human beings do, but even like things that are going on in the sky, right? Constellation changes, solar, lunar eclipses, things like that. And then things that happen, things that human beings do intentionally or even unintentionally, they can create contamination. And when this contamination is produced, is created, it contaminates, first of all, if you created those actions especially, or even if you come in contact with someone who has created those contaminations, that contamination can affect you. And it can then compromise the power of these la, of these vital energies that you have. And then when it is compromised, when it is weakened, then sickness will occur, accidents will occur, whatever you endeavor will not meet the result that you're looking for. Your mental, energy is heavy, lethargic, resulting in pains, then different kinds of contamination, they kind of tell us, and also from the Tibetan medical tradition, it tells us, depending on what kind of imbalance that has occurred. So due to contamination, then an imbalance of the elements and the vital energies in the body then give rise to particular types of diseases. So there's a very famous No Sang text, very old, called the blue, let's see. This is a text that is found at, I think I remember one of the pillars at Samye Monastery. Samye Monastery is one of the, it's the oldest monastery established in Tibet, with the effort of King Drikung Kagyu, and with help from Guru Rinpoche. So there is a no sang, a sang for removing contamination. That and in that text, it really goes into all the details of the different signs. When this type of contamination has happened, then these particular signs will manifest, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So this contamination. So let's see quickly the title of that text, and it's available on Lotsawa House. It's called Divine Blue Water. Divine Blue Water No Sang. So it's on Lotsawa, Lotsawa, a great resource for a lot of Tibetan Dharma texts that have been translated into English and Spanish too on that website, and Chinese to some degree. So it's a very much longer text. Probably many of us will find it hard to do. But the one that we have, Source of All Auspiciousness, it's not too long, not too short, and it's a very nice, very, I think, complete text. So this is what we're looking at, right? Then when Buddhism came, right? When Buddhism came, it is said that great masters like Guru Rinpoche, one of the skills that these great masters like Guru Rinpoche had is that they know how to recognize, they recognize how to transform and to use local beliefs that exist and turn them and infuse them with the insight of Dharma, of Buddha Dharma. So last week I talked about, even in India, the Buddha used, prevailing beliefs and observances by people and to transform those practices. So the story of Sigalovada Sutta, where the young man was, right in the river making offerings to 6 directions. Then the Buddha said, what are these 6 directions that we're talking about? So likewise, when Guru Rinpoche came to Tibet, he saw, Tibetans doing the Sang ritual, which is basically burning aromatic plants, especially cedar, juniper, then monkwort, dwarf rhododendron. So these produce very fragrant smoke, right? He saw that people were doing this, and he probably asked, so what do they think they're doing? And what do they say they're doing? Oh, they are doing cleansing. What are they cleaning? Oh, no, contamination. Then where does no come from? Then people will say, right, probably, oh, when you do this, it will be no. When you do that, it will be no. When you touch a dead body, there is no. When you touch the clothes of a murderer, you get contaminated. When you eat food, cooked by someone who is very angry and resentful, there is no. When you pee into the river, they believe that creates no, and so on. So Guru Rinpoche, listening to all of that, say yes, yeah, But then he then introduced, kind of a Buddhist layer, which is, but even more basic than this contamination, do you know what it is? So this is when Dharma comes in. Then he spoke of karmic obscuration, karmic obscuration. So negative actions that arose as a result of kleshas, afflictive emotions, afflictions, vexations. When negative karma is created, that is called dikpa. Dikpa is misdeeds, the karmic effects of misdeeds, unskillful actions, harmful actions. So when negative karma is created, we have dikpa. Dikpa is closely related to another word, sounds similar, but is dripa. Dripa is veil, obscuration, that which obscures, that which hides, that which conceals. And there we are talking about in the Buddhist use of this word dripa, we're talking about the two obscurations. Being obscured so that we make the mistake of thinking there is self or there is essence in our persons. Being obscured so that we think there is essence and there is self in phenomena, in experiences. These are the two obscurations. Because of these two types of obscurations, then negative karma is created. So then dripa and dikpa both become present. So sang is to cleanse, dripa and dikpa. This is the Buddhist layer that is then added onto an indigenous Tibetan, older, in Tibet at least, older indigenous layer of belief in the effects of contamination and the methods of cleaning contamination. Onto that is added, I would call, the universally true principles of dikpa and dripa. Colloquially, Tibetans now also use the word dripa, which has that specific Buddhist meaning of the two obscurations, but generally dripa is almost, you could say, also used to simply say, when we create negative karma, then we are affected by this dripa. And so this dripa is almost like a, you could say, psychic substance, like that contamination, like that no. When you create when your negative actions will produce this dripa that will stick onto you. I've in the past used the example of this type of dripa. It's almost like you could say secondhand smoke. So the person who smokes, of course, is damaging his or her own lungs. But if you are in the vicinity of someone smoking, you are not smoking. But if you're in the vicinity of someone who is smoking, then you might get the effects of secondhand smoke. Likewise, there's an understanding that dripa, not in the Buddhist philosophical sense, but more in the ordinary use of the word, dripa is something that can stick onto us. So, you go to a place and you did not know, but the place there, there has been a very vicious, fight, disharmony that has occurred. You go there and they say, if you are weak in your constitution, you could catch the dripa, you could catch the no there because you're easily affected. So like some places, right, we go, instantly our mind kind of opens up. But there are some places that we go instantly, right? Our mind just kind of shuts down, becomes very tight because it's become afflicted, it's become affected. So in my experience, some of these places, as it turns out, can also be places where people are trying to do good. What do I mean by that? Certain healing spaces, certain yoga spaces, that I have walked in, and immediately you can feel that it's very thick, the energy is very strong, kind of very tight. And that, in a way, from the perspective of Knoll and Dripa, is because right? All the people who have come there, and they have been helped, okay? So their dripper is removed. But that dripper or that no lingers in that space. So not enough clearing of that can also happen. Just like hospitals, that's where lives are saved. But there can be kind of very heavy, thick stuff lingering around. So then, it's good. I'm not saying that sang offering is the only way to clear these things. But if you connect with this kind of practice, I like to joke, I have a natural tendency of liking to burn things. And so then, this sangchö, I resonate, I like it a lot. So then I do it, whenever I can, as much as I can. So this is, as I said, this particular text is good size, not too long, not too short, and it has all the things. So we already looked at the end part of this text where it talks about like what is it that we are cleansing? What is it that we are removing? And when we remove and when we cleanse, what will happen? What results and what positive result can come? And so we already looked at that. So last week's teaching has all of that. So if you didn't see that video, go back to that. It's on the YouTube channel that I have created to make available all these recordings. But it's also on Facebook, Urban Dharma, North Carolina videos that have been live streamed there. You can go look there as well. Then today we want to look at page 1, starting from there. So it says, Emaho, please heed us. Emaho is an expression of wonder. It's not literally wonderful. Sometimes I think people take that too literally. But don't write, it's a little weird, to write in greeting cards or whatever. Emaho, wonderful. Keep emaho to, more classical uses, like in the text here. Emaho gongsu so. Gongsu so. Gong is like the mind, the intention. For those of you who are studying Gongchik 3 times a week, it's the same word gong. Buddhas. So that means we are invoking Buddhas to heed us, to pay attention to us. Like Buddhas, turn your attention to us. Turn your gong. Turn your focus to us. So this we know is not addressing samsaric beings, no matter how powerful, worldly gods, no matter how powerful. This line here, when it says, Emaho, please heed us, Emaho gongsu so, is talking about, may Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the 3 jewels, the 3 roots, turn your attention to us. Turn your attention to us is to invoke the presence of these awakened beings and say, just as you have done this, I will do this. Just as you have progressed on the Bodhisattva path, I too want to now, follow in your way. So we're asking them to lend their support and guidance to us. We are also calling them so that we can remember their qualities, their activities, and so that we can follow them. So Emaho Gongsu So. Then here it begins, this text with talking about where the location is. So you should think, we are in the southern continent called Jambudvipa. So this is ancient Indian cosmology that says that the world that we live in is in the southern part, the southern part of this cosmic mountain called Mount Meru, or called Sumeru sometimes. So in the southern part is this continent called Jambudvipa. Then to Jambudvipa's northeast, in the northeast area on Jambudvipa, there is a mountain called Ashvakarana. And on Ashvakarana grow the three plants of the elixir of deathlessness. Deathlessness, Dutsi. Chime Dutsi. Elixir is Dutsi. Chime is deathlessness. Last week, I think somebody asked, what is this deathlessness? So here we're not talking about, living forever, in the human body, or for that matter, whatever body. This deathlessness is wisdom. The wisdom that sees that there's no coming and no going, no birth and therefore no death. Then the reason why these three plants also become symbols of deathlessness is because they grow through the seasons in Tibet. It doesn't matter what time of the year, they grow. So these are evergreens. So at its base, at the base of Ashvakarana, are artemisias with golden flowers. In the middle part of this mountain are junipers with turquoise tufts. These are creeping junipers. And on its peak are rhododendron. These are not the rhododendron that we know in North Carolina, big leaves. These are tiny leaves, very fragrant and not poisonous. This is fragrant rhododendron. And on its peak are rhododendrons with conch white flowers. And here, as I said, I believe this is actually a specific place in Drikung that has been mythologized using. I'm not saying that Guru Rinpoche or Gyalwang Rinchen Puntsok literally thinks where they are is Ashvakarana, but it's a way to help you, right? Have pure vision. So this is part of deity yoga practice. You see your surroundings no matter where you are as the mandala of the awakened beings. So likewise here, I believe they're talking about a particular mountain in the Drikung area. And Drikung is in the northeast area of Tibet, of central Tibet, in the northeast area. So there, as I said, if you all have the opportunity, maybe next year, if things are well in the summer, I do hope to go back to Drikung. I've been to Drikung maybe 4 times, 5 times. But it's been years since I've been back. I hope to go to Drikung. And then, I will show you, if you can come, where this mountain is. And then we can go see. At the base are the artemisias. Going up, you have junipers. On top, there is rhododendron. Then when we get up there, if it is not late, you can make this offering, the sun offering. Verdant and fragrant throughout the 4 seasons. So they are green and fragrant throughout 4 seasons. Such are the extraordinary attributes of these excellent plants. Now we invoke the blessings of the Buddhas. By the blessings of the Buddhas of the 3 times, by the power of the Buddhas of the 3 times, past, present, and future, for the dispelling of the elusive discursive thoughts of sentient beings. So this is the purpose of making this offering. More important than even removing contamination that cause sickness in us, cause our plans to not come to fruition, make us break things easily, fall sick easily. Even more important than all of that is to dispel discursive thoughts, elusive discursive thoughts. The good news here is they are elusive, illusory. And because they are illusory, in fact, they can be cleansed very easily. The fact that they can be cleansed mean that they don't belong there in the first place, right? So for this reason, then through the auspicious interdependence, tendra, interdependence, causes and conditions all coming together. So in this case, auspicious interdependence. So through the auspicious interdependence of the coming together of karma, so of our positive intention, karma here, merit, the positive actions that were done in the past that has resulted in the merit, and aspirations and our goals. Of here, it says gods, humans, and demons. See, in Buddhism, demons, we don't think that demons are ultimately evil. We think that demons are merely another form of life. But they are mostly tortured by kind of thoughts of violence and harm. But there are also benevolent demons. Not all demons. Just like humans, not all humans behave in benevolent ways. In fact, we would say, oh, many humans don't. So basically, this notion of gods, humans, and demons, you can say it's basically a way of saying all that exists, in the understanding that gods are those that exist above, humans are those who exist on this plane, demons are those who exist underneath. A very basic or even primitive, but naturalistic of understanding everything. Those above, those on the same level, and those under. So it says when these three categories can come together, then this cleansing is possible. Then fragrant smoke clouds or sweet-smelling incense from these elixir plants with attributes of deathlessness, they billow up into the sky. They go up into the sky and they fill the whole space, and the smoke can cover go in all directions. Thus the darkness and dullness of gods, humans, and demons are cleared away. So, to clear away. As brilliant lights and garlands of blazing light rays stream forth. So we have to think, the smoke on the outer level, they have an appearance of smoke, but the inner is the brightness, blazing light rays, the clarity of wisdom and compassion. Stream forth. The dense darkness of ignorance and delusion is cleared away. Then the searing hot and burning blaze of fire, the fire that is, the basis of the smoke, burns, incinerates all contamination. No, here, no. This is no impurity and dross, everything. So that which contaminates, that which dirties, all that is burnt away. These three plants endowed with such attributes, by the blessings of the perfectly pristine Dharma Dhatu. So now it's invoking the power of truth, the power of reality. By the truth of the three jewels, the source of refuge, and by the power of the accomplishments of seers and vidyadharas. Seers and vidyadharas are basically here referring to those who practice and have accomplished realizations. So through the power of the Dharma Dhatu, which has always been as it is, no coming, no going, no birth, no death. So the ultimate state of everything, the pristine state of everything, through the natural purity and power of the Dharma Dhatu, and the power, the truth the reality of the three jewels, and the power of the accomplishments of practitioners. Through the coming together of these three, it can purify the attitude and conduct conditioned by the ways of gods, humans, and demons, thus reconciling them. Here, reconciling them is talking about when contamination, when null or obscuration, dripa, is created, then it can cause, humans to fight with humans, humans to fight with gods, gods to fight with demons, demons to fight with humans, so everything becomes upside down. Everyone becomes, goes into conflict. But when we clear and we purify contamination, then everyone, right, is in a good mood. Everyone feels good and light and at ease. Then conflict can be cleared. So it says, when gods, humans, and demons are in conflict, this is the method. This is the means to resolve that conflict, to clear the conflict. When the clean and unclean of me and no are mixed, so we are free of me and no contamination, two different types of contamination. And sometimes, like, I'm free of that, but I come into contact with someone who is not. Then when those come together, then it gets all mixed up. So this is the means to cleanse them. When accomplishments and obstacles. So this is, the next few lines is basically, these are the pairs, right? What we want and what we don't want. So when accomplishments and obstacles are mixed together, this is also the means to clear them. When truth and falsity, good and bad are mixed, this is the means to clear them. When good, bad, and middling are mixed, this is the means to clear them. When there are errors in ritual practice, this is the means to cleanse them. So sometimes, we do certain rituals, we do certain practices because we are not paying attention. We are busy, doing rituals and taking pictures. Certainly, I've been guilty of that, or, doing rituals halfway and some message comes, we feel like, oh, I need to answer that. So this is when, error comes up in ritual practice, then this is the means to cleanse them. When gods, humans, and demons create contaminants. And here it's create obscurations, actually. So I should change this one because it's drip and not no. Dripa. So when gods, humans, and demons create obscurations, that which obscures, that which, this is the means to cleanse them. When there are bad signs and omens in dreams. So if you have, very uncomfortable, disturbing, concerning dreams, this is the means to clear them. When signs and astrological calculations are bad. So if you do some of this astrological calculations and it shows something negative, this is the means to clear them. When the five sense faculties are obstructed, this is the means to clear them. So sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. Sometimes the null or the drip can be so strong, it can cause our sense faculties to be obstructed. I mean, these are even things like, like when we have had accidents, if you think back, you would say, well, I didn't see that. I didn't see that thing, or I didn't hear that. And so because we didn't see or we didn't hear, then accidents occur. So this is five sense faculties obstructed. You can think of it in those terms. When gods of protection and fortune weaken, this is the means to cleanse them. So you can think, like your immune system, is weakened. And your ability to achieve your goals is weakened. this is the means to cleanse them. When there are quarrels and jealousies, this is the means to clear them. And disharmony and jealousy. When elusive apparitions and superstitions arise, elusive apparitions is talking about like kind of, seeing things that are usually not there, and usually kind of negative things. And so when you encounter those things, and it's related to superstitions. Superstitions here, is pointing to how we see them because, we have the seed of seeing them. We have certain types of superstitions. But once the superstition has arose, you cannot so easily get rid of how it leaves an impact in your mind. You cannot just say, oh, it's superstition, I'm not going to pay attention. But down there, it continues to stay. So you can use this sang to clear. When there are transgressions from erecting buildings and houses on the land, this is the means to clear them. So it's saying, when we build things, when we dig, when we clear land, like it or not, it will create offense. Because there are other beings that live in that area. And never mind if you paid for the land and you say, now I'm going to build a house. Even if now I'm going to build a monastery, now I'm going to build a retreat center. Nonetheless, you're disturbing, right? What was there before. So that can also create problems. And this is the means to clear them. When the commitments of guardians weaken, this is the means to cleanse them. So these are the guardians, like I said, the natural powers, vitality that you're born with. Because of contamination, because of obscuration, they become weak. This is the way to cleanse. When earth lords, meaning the earth lord as is referring to a class of beings that is particular to the earth that you're standing on, to the ground that you are standing on, to where you live. We say there are earth lords, meaning like they're called lords because they own that land that you are living on. Again, you can say, oh, wait, I have the title, the deed to this land. They are good for your human government. But before you got there, and after you're no longer there, there are earth lords that live there. There are nagas. Nagas are these serpent beings that are responsible for like the health and fertility of the area, but they also can be kind of temperamental. They don't like unclean spaces. So it's good to, generally clean up outside, inside, because nagas don't like unclean places. Throwing trash, all that offends nagas. I just saw an article, a short, about in Bhutan, in this case, there are these sort of naga shrines created across Bhutan. They're called lubum. They're shaped kind of like stupa, but this is specific for nagas. So many areas there are these lubums. So now modern Bhutan is being modernized. A lot of young people are like, these are just superstitions, that there's nagas living there and this and that. But interestingly, the environmentalists, people working on the environment and protecting the environment, they say, no, this is our ancient way of protecting the environment, because there's all sorts of things, if there is a lubum, if there is a naga vase in that particular area, then villages and everyone, will make sure they keep everything clean, no trash. So all these lubums that are placed in all these different places is to is a very effective way for people to relate to their surroundings and take care of their surroundings. So, of course, the sang, we say, can clean whenever we have offended them. But maybe even better than cleaning afterwards is, in the first place, don't offend them. Right? So it says, when earth lords, nagas, and Nian spirits is another category of spirits, when they become agitated. How do they become agitated? When we trash our environment, they become agitated. So this is the means to cleanse them. And that's why, as I mentioned last week, the Nechung Oracle, the national, you could say, oracle of Tibetan people, now in Dharamsala, the oracle, he recently, when the Nechung deity comes, have said that it's important that we do sang in this time of the COVID-19. It's because many natural spirits are agitated. They're very annoyed. So they have released this situation. So this is the means to clear that agitation. When there are bad years, months, days, and times, this is the means to cleanse them. When sun, moon, planets, and stars are bad, this is the means to clear them. So certain natural kind of cycles in time can also result in situations where human beings, won't do so well. And so that is the time that we also need to cleanse. See, these problems, right, that the sang addresses, some of them clearly have moral ethical dimensions. Some of them don't, have any explicit moral ethical dimensions. But it's a recognition that changing of the environment or changing of the stars, position of the stars and the moon, even though not having any moral ethical element to them, can still create unrest among beings. And so sang is a way to address that. By the power of performing this profound ritual of washing with cleansing smoke, so think of the smoke as washing. Thorough analysis will reveal that nothing is left unrealized or unseen. So here, thorough analysis means, like those who see clearly will know that through the performance, the offering of this cleansing smoke, all these things can be achieved. But of course, this is not like, magic. Trying to trick things. This is really a form of bodhicitta. If we practice this sang with bodhicitta, then in fact, you may or may not do this sang correctly, with all the mudras, with all the chantings, with all the visualizations. But if you do it with bodhicitta, then it can accomplish the things that it says it can accomplish here. So by the truthful speech of the seers are those advanced practitioners, nothing is left unfulfilled. By this ritual's auspicious interdependence, nothing at all is left incomplete. When causes and conditions come together, everything will be accomplished. When ritual procedure is carried out, everything will be purified. So it has been taught. So let me pause here and see if you all have questions, either on Zoom, and if someone can look over to Facebook and read out if there's any questions there, that would be very helpful too. I'll take a break, I'm slowly again getting congested. This has to be some kind of contamination. Allergy contamination. Mr. Nathan graduates today. Oh. Congratulations. Questions? Yes, no, maybe? Comments?
Guru,
Yes.
this may sound a bit odd, but actually this text in it mention all the deities, the landlords, all this referring kind of to Tibetan version of the spirits.
Yes.
But like, for example, in the Chinese culture, there's so many, you know, the entire pantheon.
Yes, yes.
So, but technically, they'll still be pacified by this ritual, right? As long as our understanding,
Yes, yes, of course.
correct?
Yeah, of course. And
Okay,
otherwise, if I'm doing it even worse, I'm doing it in the United States of America, even further from, yeah, there are universal principles going on here. I think when we get to no, this is a good question actually, because sometimes, especially if you're born in that culture, you think like you can only think within the lenses of your culture, and you think that the lenses, and the parameters that your culture has established is universal. They're not universal. They're particular to each culture, each place, and even within one culture, it changes, over a few hundred years, right? So these practices, if we don't know how to relate to them, then we end up, like adopting a new set of gods. I've said many times, don't go, adopt a new set of gods and demons. Every culture has enough gods and demons, so to say. Whether you give them names of gods and demons or not, doesn't matter. But basically, every culture has enough gods and demons, meaning hopes and fears, right? At the end of the day, really, what gods and demons are is hopes and fears. So when we relate to like a Tibetan Buddhist practice, that developed in the Tibetan cultural context, the surface level is the level where it's particular to that culture. So then we want to understand the universals that underlie that. Then it doesn't matter where we are. We can connect with and we can practice effectively.
Okay, thank you. Because actually Malaysia is even more confusing. Not only Chinese, we have the Indian, Malay, whole
Yeah, it's
portion.
not confusing because then you are in a great position to understand that no one culture has complete monopoly over, oh, it's definitely this, it's definitely that,
Okay, thank you.
We're very fortunate in that sense, you live in the crossroads of Asia, so to say. So all sorts of traditions coexist and you can kind of understand, I know I grew up there, that we have developed an understanding that is very inclusive, So especially the Chinese people in Malaysia, some people said they have no backbone because they will do offerings to just about anything. As in, it doesn't matter what religion, they're going to go and do some prayers there. So some people say, these Chinese people, no backbone, they will pray to whatever, that is possible to pray to. But on the other hand, I think, it's like, no, they have a recognition, like, every culture, has its own understanding. And then when all these cultures live right next to each other, we don't need to say, mine is true, yours is false, every, like Chinese New Year, especially, like the Chinese like New Year's Eve in Malaysia to go to temples, some even go to 7 temples. For when I was a teenager, a few years we would do that with my mom. And Then a few years back, I went with my brother and cousin, and we went New Year's Eve, like 10 p.m. at night. The idea is to do it through to the new year, from the old year to the new year, to go to all these different temples. So there are Chinese temples, Taoist temples. Chinese temples are always a mix of all sorts of things. There are Buddhist deities, Taoist deities, Confucian deities. And because it's in Malaysia, there's also Hindu deities and also even like Muslim spirits. We call them Dato. And I'm like, yeah, like we will go burn incense anywhere we can. It's just that the church and the mosque don't allow us to go in and burn incense. Otherwise, Chinese New Year's Eve, we would go to the church and the mosque and burn incense.
Dr. Lai, for those of us that live here in Asheville, which was Cherokee land, the Native Americans also have very similar rituals with different plants and medicine.
Yes, right. Yeah, of course, all human cultures, Now, where I'm going to having said all of that, I want to remind you, like, now this is when maybe you could say, Buddhist pride is coming in, I have to say. But we're not doing it in that more local understanding. Whether it's in Malaysia, whether it's in Cherokee, or, they are doing it in a very particular, it's to appease the spirits there, it's to do, we are adding the Dharma layer, right? So something else is going on now. Superficially, doing a Tibetan ritual. More importantly than the Tibetan ritual is the Dharma. And so unless it is infused with Dharma, then you're just performing a Tibetan ritual, you're performing a Chinese ritual, you're performing a Cherokee ritual, you're performing a Spaniard ritual, you're performing an Inca ritual, then you're performing a Mayan ritual, Then when it comes to that, if you ask me that question, then I said, well, I think Inca rituals can only be performed in Inca lands. And what the heck are you doing Inca rituals in Cherokee land? It's not going to work. Like performing, I've thought about this, like I grew up in Malaysia where we have a lot of like spirit possession. I have thought over the years, what if I bring one of these guys over, to Asheville and see if the possession will happen? Of course, I don't have the resources to do that, but I'm really curious if the possession will happen. I have a suspicion that it will not happen because context is different. Yeah. But if we tap into the Dharma side, then it doesn't matter where we are. Because superficially, on the outer layer, it looks like we're doing a Tibetan ritual. But if you have the inner understanding, then it will work.
Thank you. There's a question in the chat here on Zoom.
Sure.
It says, can you please address the cynical Western mind that is wary of superstition?
All I can say is, if this doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. There are other things to practice. I'm not trying to convince more people to do this practice. I'm just saying, if you have interest in this practice, let's do it with understanding. And more importantly, understanding the Dharma, the Buddha Dharma that needs to be present. If you don't have this notion of contamination, pollution and all that, then don't worry about it. Practice lojong, practice metta, practice vipassana, there's so many other possibilities. No need to worry about it. Of course, if I was just a businessman, then I would try to get you to do more of this because I sell this incense. Then it's better business for me. But no, just don't worry about it. But I have one anecdote I can share with you. We think we don't have superstitions. The more educated we are, the more kind of proud we become. We think, oh, I don't have this kind of superstition. So I heard this story. One Rinpoche, very skilled, So one time he was in Malaysia. This happened in Malaysia. And he was, after dinner, sitting around with a group of young people, highly educated, very sophisticated, So one of them, the husband of the host with the group, basically in the conversation said to the Rinpoche, I've started to learn about, Tibetan Buddhism, and I've started to kind of study more. I like the philosophy. I understand it all makes sense. It's very, it's very rational. This, I like that, And then the wife said something like, but he doesn't practice. Then the Rinpoche said, why don't you practice? The husband said, I don't know. I like all the theory, everything, but the practice, that's all just seems just so superstitious to me. It's all this, that, all these things. He said, I don't, I'm not into that kind of superstition. Then the Rinpoche said, oh, so you're not superstitious, huh? Husband said, no, it's just these things, it's kind of silly, Then the Rinpoche said, oh, okay. So they continued to chit-chat, other people asking the Rinpoche questions and everything. And then the Rinpoche said to the wife, and quite loudly so that the husband can hear, and said to the wife, hey, did I hear that your husband is flying somewhere tomorrow? Was it tomorrow? And the wife was like, oh, no, day after tomorrow. And then the husband's like, where is he going? It's like, oh, he's going to go on a business trip to Hong Kong, and day after tomorrorow. And the Rinpoche said, oh, okay, good. And then again talking. Then the Rinpoche kind of then looked at the husband and said, so day after tomorrow, huh? You're flying to like Hong Kong? I said, yeah, to this business. And then Rinpoche said, you have to fly next day after tomorrow? Can you like delay it a little bit, like a day? Then the husband said, oh, no, I cannot. I already said, husband. Then the Rinpoche said, oh, okay. Then, he said to the wife, you sure you cannot convince him not to go on day after tomorrow? Now things start to change, Long story short, before the end of the night, the husband is asking the Rinpoche, can you please give me something to wear, something to chant, something to this, something to do? And then at the end, the Rinpoche just burst out laughing and said, ha, you said you're not superstitious. See? Well, we're not superstitious until superstitions turn up. Then, too late. It is good if you are really not superstitious. And so superstitious, the word in Tibetan is namto, to have superstitions, namto. But namto also has a philosophical meaning. It means discursive thoughts. Discursive thoughts is meaning thoughts that have subject and object. So in that sense, all of us have namto. All of us have superstition. As long as there is subject-object division, that is Buddhist definition of superstition. So as long as we have that, then we have to deal with namto. So the namto might be, there are spirits, there are gods, there is black cats, there is, all that stuff, right? Or more sophisticated, right? Now we have to go to therapy. We have to talk about our problems. We have to go dream analysis. We have to go this analysis. We have to go that analysis. Now, I'm not saying these things don't work. I'm just saying these are all our different devices to deal with discursive thoughts. When times were simpler, you can deal with your namto in a much cheaper way. Now, $125 an hour. Without naming names, I said to someone, recently, I said, yeah, your family might object to you giving money, to the Buddhist center. And I said, if you say that you're giving it to a Buddhist center, they might object, But then if you said, oh, I'm giving for therapy, then instantly, like, oh, okay, oh, good idea. Different superstition, different solutions. We continue with the text. Emaho, please heed us today for patrons, beneficiaries, and our circles. So when we do this, we have to think for everyone, basically. To pacify obstacles of infectious diseases and clear defects from the veil of samaya violations, resentments, and jealousies. Resentments and jealousies here actually have a particular meaning. It is in the Vajrayana context. It is said that when there is samaya violations, then within the mandala of that guru, not just the humans, but the protected deities, it will create resentments and jealousies. It's said that the Dharmapalas will have resentments and the Dakinis will have jealousies. And then, so this is, again, we don't need to be so literal to think, oh, there are these entities, but to think like when there is a breach of commitment, a breach of love, which is what samaya is, when that is breached, then naturally resentments and jealousies, they are like the two push and pull, is going to come up. So in order to pacify that, whether it's infectious diseases or samaya violations that result in resentments and jealousies, may you, knowing and seeing assembly of deities, please heed us. Again, here, knowing and seeing assembly of deities, these are Buddhas. These are not whatever local powers and entities and deities and spirits that we are also calling to come here to be cleansed. But here when we say, may you, knowing and seeing assembly of deities, these are the awakened ones. Please heed us. Today, so then the next part is a declaration of, like everything is perfect right now. This is, so this is part of like deity yoga. You have to kind of have divine pride, like right now is the perfect time to do this. So it says, today the planets and stars in the sky are good. See, you're not saying this because you're an astrologer and you have done all the calculations. That's the worldly way. Right? We want to know, oh, is it auspicious, not auspicious? Is it a good day to start a business? Is it a good day to start a journey? Is it not a good day? Is it a good day to send in the application? Sometimes, we do this. Then we have to rely on all these calculations. But if you have the practice of deity yoga, meaning you understand those principles, then here you just declare, today, the stars and the planets in the sky, they are good. Doesn't matter, even if someone calculate and say, oh, it's negative. If you really have understanding of what deity yoga means, you will say, no, it is good right now. And then it says, when this land is examined well, the desirable attributes are found to be complete. What does this mean, you know? Well, again, you know, feng shui and all that can say, oh, this is good, this is not good, this, that, you know. But if you have deity, pure vision, which is what it means here, when it's examined well, when you understand the nature of everything, then this environment, it's perfect. Furthermore, time and date are both auspicious. No need to go calculate date. A good day, good time, not necessary. This day is excellent and the constellations are good for performing this cleansing and pacifying ritual. Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and four destroyers. So this is the declaration of truth. This is a very particular Buddhist way of kind of plugging into a more universal power, which is, we say, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and four destroyers, arhats, have exhausted all the defilements. The Buddha, chief among two-legged beings, is sublime truth. The Dharmata, meaning the nature of reality, is sublime truth. The Sangha, chief of assemblies, is sublime truth. By the blessings of these truths of the three jewels, may this cleansing ritual be accomplished perfectly. So this is a true way of empowering, energizing this offering that we're going to make, which is the truth of the three jewels. This is the part where it's Buddha Dharma. The principles of Buddha Dharma is what we're using to truly cleanse. Again, Emaho Gong Su So. We cleanse and offer with Samantabhadra's clouds of offerings. So we want to think, you know, these smoke that comes out, they are like Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's offerings to all the Buddhas of the 10 directions. So first of all, this smoke will go out as offerings of different types: flowers, incense, perfume, clothing, music, lights, anything pleasant and imaginable. They become that to be offered to all the objects of refuge. Then, after that, it says a list of things that you can use to burn. White sandalwood, which is a poetic way of talking about juniper. So juniper is poetically called white sandalwood. So we cleanse with white sandalwood, Father Juniper. And we cleanse with red sandalwood. What is red sandalwood? It's cedar wood. We cleanse with aloes wood, which is aga wood, the king of medicines. Aga wood is said to be the main medicine for treating wind imbalances. So aga wood, also called aloes wood. Then we cleanse with cypress wood, the king of fragrances. We cleanse with white rhododendron, fragrance of the gods. We cleanse with blazing turquoise leaves of fine juniper. We cleanse with the excellent scent of white artemisia. We cleanse with the elephantine scent of white mugwort. Somehow white mugwort smells like white elephants. No idea. Or smell like elephants. So those are the substances that you can use to cleanse. And you can add other aromatic things. And this is when I feel, you know, in your local area, if there's local traditions that say, oh, they use copal to cleanse, they use frankincense to cleanse, they use myrrh to cleanse, they use sage to cleanse, then you can add, you know. That's when you kind of localize whatever aromatic plants, Palo Santo, you know, all different things you can add. Now is the next section where we say, for you unsurpassed refuge, gurus of the lineage of instructions, we cleanse. For you perfect Buddhas, supreme among two-legged beings, we cleanse. For you sacred Dharma, we cleanse. For you noble Sangha, field of merit, we cleanse. For you mandalas of conquerors, assemblies of idam deities, we cleanse. For you Viras and Takinis who defend all realms, we cleanse. For you Dharmapalas and guardians who defend the teachings, we cleanse. For you Vajra family guardians of the outer tantras, we cleanse. For you guardians of the Buddha's word and Buddha's teachings, in other words, the tantras and dharmas, we cleanse. For you guardians of the lineage of the master and forefathers, that means lineage gurus, we cleanse. Up until around here, these are objects of refuge. They are basically awakened beings appearing in different aspects up until around here. So what is the meaning of us cleansing them? Surely it is not that they need cleansing. Buddhas, awakened beings already have no stains, no pollution, no contamination. So we are not saying that we are cleaning them. We are purifying them. They don't need purifying. So what are we cleansing here? What are we purifying here? We're not purifying the Buddhas. We're not purifying the Yidams. We're not cleansing the Sangha, like the noble Sangha. We're not cleansing the great Arhats. We're not cleansing, the great Bodhisattvas. So what does it mean here? It means that we need to cleanse the obscuration that we have projected onto these objects of refuge. We need to cleanse and purify our negative projections onto the Guru, onto the Guru's mandala, onto the Yidam, onto the Dharmapalas. So whatever wrong understanding, wrong view, wrong perception that we have on these objects of refuge, we now cleanse. So we're not cleaning the objects of refuge. They have no need for cleaning. If they still need to be cleansed, then they are not objects of refuge. So up until here, this cleanse is offered to, you could say, our relationship to them. In whatever way that relationship has been polluted, contaminated, tarnished, we cleanse. Then next is the cleansing of those beings who still need cleansing. Oh, then there's a whole long list of that. And there it's not just cleansing our relationship with them, it's also cleansing them. So starting from here, for you guardians of all hermitages and religious centers, we cleanse. For you guardians of all those possessed of fortune of approach and accomplishment practices, we cleanse. For you guardian gods allied with powerful legions, we cleanse. To you gods who are our sentries, our guardians, master and disciples, patron and beneficiaries, along with our circles, we offer this divine cleanse. To you gods who are watchmen at night. So when we sleep, there are powers that are watching. We cleanse. To you gods who come to our support, we offer this divine cleanse. For you gods who act as bridges over water, as steps up cliffs, as lamps in the darkness, we cleanse. So here we're not saying, like bridges are gods necessarily, or steps, or lamps. So it's not animism. You start worshiping the lamp, start worshiping the bridge. Here it's really saying, like, to me, what this is saying, like all the things that we take for granted, to safely cross a bridge, to have light illuminating darkness at night when we're driving, when we're walking, bridges for us to cross, right? All of those things, they have their own kind of integrity. They have their own power. And we need to recognize that. and we want to cleanse, so that we have always a good relationship, so to say, poetically. I don't think you necessarily, so to that question, what about, those of us who are skeptical, I'm not saying that you have to literally believe there are gods, in the sense that we commonly, think about gods and demons, especially now referring to the chut, to sever, right? That practice, drum and gangling, all that, has very sophisticated teachings about what is the meaning of gods and demons, which I said, it boils down to hope and fear, hopes and fears. That which we are always hoping for, we call gods. That which we are always fearing, we call ghosts. Anyway, here, for you gods who act as bridges over water, as steps up cliffs, as lamps in the darkness, we cleanse. Yeah. To you gods who keep watch against enemies and dispatch allies, who give antidotes for poison, who cure illness, who destroy the legions of Maras and demons, who oppress evil spirits, and who rout enemies in battle, we offer this divine cleanse. So this is talking about, the language is, of course, kind of ancient. Armies, battle, legions of Mars. But basically, this is talking about protective, things that keep us safe, things that keep the peace. We offer a cleanse. Right? To you gods who escort us in front, who guide us from behind, those who go before us, those who come after us to keep us safe, who meanwhile look after our interests, who at home guard our children and wealth. So when we're traveling, when we go out to work, who act as herders of humans and animal offspring, taking care of the young, who protect the country of our paternal relations. Country don't necessarily mean country in the modern sense. Basically, it means wherever our family lineage. Paternal relations don't mean, maternal relations are not important. This is just a cultural expression of basically of our family. We offer this divine cleanse. For you powerful legions who defend us and protect our body. Steadfast paternal gods, regional and enemy gods, our forefathers' ancestral gods, and goddesses of female descent. These are terms that refer to what's known as the Gowe La. Gowe La is the 5, they say, gods, okay? Again, whether you want to think of them as gods or like your immune system, it's up to you. So it's called the Pola, Mola, Eula, Pola, Mola, Eula, Sokla, and Dala. Pola is the paternal gods. It's said that you inherit those from your father. Mola is the maternal gods. And these are indigenous Tibetan beliefs. Predates Buddhism. So Pola is the gods from that you connected to your father that comes to you. Mola are the gods connected to your mother and comes to you from that way. Sokla is life god. That means the basic life energy that you're born with. That's particular to you. Drala, literally enemy gods, but it doesn't mean enemies that are gods. It means those gods that protect you from your enemies. Drala. And Eula is the regional gods. So maybe a more general sense. So these, you can think of them, if the language of gods is a little too out there, think of them as basic constitution of your life energy, your health, your well-being. So they are conceptualized as these 5 gods. So they even locate it and say that I think the mola is like living like under your right armpit, I think. And then the pola is on your left shoulder. Jala is maybe on your forehead area. Eula, Sotla is like in the chest, I think. And Eula, I don't remember. There are all these matchings. So this section is talking about this Goela. Then for you, wealth gods of prosperity, keen gods of sharp weapons. So these days, you don't use weapons to protect yourself. But again, the principle is protection. Protection and prosperity. So the energy related to keeping you safe, keeping you with resources, with prosperity. Earth lords of the various regions, nagas and powerful spirits of different realms, earth lords of the elements, months, and 4 seasons. So this is related to astrology. Gods of trigrams, this is the Chinese system actually, the Bagua. Astrological seats, years and months, gods of planets, stars, days, times, dates. So everything, animate, inanimate, here they are spoken of as gods. So in other words, it's really a vision of the universe where everything is alive, and so you are kind of attuning yourself to the vibrant, dynamic universe that we are a part of, and recognizing all these powers. So again, for me, this is not to encourage superstition. This is to encourage a more dynamic view of where we live and the interconnectedness of how we are all related to each other energetically as well as karmically, so that in the end, either we do well together or we destroy each other together. So gods, powerful outer and inner gods and spirits of the 8 classes, we cleanse. For you, powerful, haughty spirits in the billionfold universe, sovereigns of the 3 realms who dominate the 3 planes of existence without exception, who inhabit the 4 continents, 7 golden mountains, 7 pleasure lakes, Mount Meru. This is the ancient Indian cosmology, meaning everywhere. The ring of iron mountains, oceans, rivers, zodiacal houses of the sky, sun, moon, charnel grounds, forests, mountains, you gods, nagas, kinnaras, and so forth, scent eaters, Gandharvas, ghouls, garudas, serpent spirits, harm bringers, elemental spirits, plunderers and their gangs, we cleanse. In other words, however, whoever you conceive to be existing, friend or foe, with compassion, loving kindness, we cleanse. Meaning we want to repair our relationship with all beings, and even with the inanimate world, we need to repair our relationship. This is what cleanse is talking about. We want to live in harmony. So we have to begin with minimizing harm. To whatever degree that we individually can do, that has to underlie, right, our practice of sang. Otherwise, one hand, we are continuing to cause harm and even more harm, knowingly, unknowingly. And then on the other hand, we say, oh, we cleanse, we cleanse, we cleanse, we cleanse. Not very useful. Then for For Nagas, gods and seers with powers of clairvoyance and aspirations who live on jewel mountains, treasure islands, who inhabit the interior cavities of Mount Meru, the oceans and continents, and who with magical powers appear in various forms, we cleanse. For all you gods who guard underground treasures, essences of accomplishments, and essential medicines, trees, and crops. So this is talking about, again, the nutrition that is in the earth, in the ground. In some places on this earth, we have so completely depleted. So then those gods there are dead, they are weakened, they're gone. But here, we recognize all of that. And so we say, we cleanse. So, but to me, what that also means is, don't go poison your land, You cannot do things for short-term benefit. And put all kinds of poison into your land, and then you do this cleansing and say, oh, you all those gods who guard underground treasures, the essence of accomplishments, essential medicines, trees, and meanwhile you're doing things to destroy that. Doesn't work like that, right? You treasure masters, harmbringers, mamos, kinnaras, scent eaters, flesh-eating demons with your gangs, we cleanse. Then with this smoke, the worlds above the ground are cleansed with these flames. So you have to burn a fire, right? Those flames, gods and demons in the sky and on the ground are cleansed. With these sparks, nagas and Nyan spirits underground are cleansed. Basically, again, the three worlds, above, on this level, and underground. So completely this is cleansed. With this fragrance, this vessel, which is the external world, the inanimate world, is cleansed. And all the sentient beings contained in it are cleansed. Parents in the three times, past, present, future, the six classes of migratory beings, the six realms, they are cleansed. Demons and obstructing spirits. And who are these demons that cause us obstacles? They're actually our karmic creditors, those that we owe karmic debt. And they are coming now to collect, or they will come in the future to collect. All these we cleanse. Then the next is particular to all these names and categories, especially in the next section, particular to the original intended audience of this text, which is Tibetans. So here, even though we say particularly for you who dwell in the snowy land of Tibet, even though the word says that, for you, wherever you are, you're saying, for you who dwell in this desert land we're in, or this rainforest land that we are in, or in the high mountains of the Andes that we are in, no matter where. Now, particularly for you, I offer this. The 9 gods who built this world and so forth. So these are talking about, they're not like the creator God in the Christian or Muslim sense. And this is a group of deities in Tibet. Then again, in pre-Buddhist Tibet, it said that they formed this world, as in more like builders, architects, and builders. This is related to, again, Tibetan mythology. The great hunting gods of Tibet, again, it's a class of gods, of spirits. The 21 great Genyans, again, is another indigenous category in Tibet. So here, when we are doing this, wherever you are, you think, like all the different gods that people conceive of in my area. Even if, and each of these gods, I will say, mentioned here, there is the local way of thinking about them, and there is an underlying principle. So like the 9 gods who built this world, you can think, locally, however people think of, how this came to be, those responsible for bringing this physical world into being, with regards to them, we cleanse. For the 12 Tenmas, they are the 12 goddesses who defend Tibet, Central and Eastern Tibet, Bokam. Local land spirits, gods who live on the peaks of castles. So you think, those who protect all the rich and powerful people in whatever area you live in, you need to cleanse them too. Door god, Dayak. House god, Getung. So every house has a door, you have house, there are protective powers. Hearth god, where you prepare your meals, your sustenance. Field god, where you get your raw material, the field. Road god, meaning, the roads that we travel. Horse god, these days, your Subaru god, your Toyota god, your Camry god, your hybrid god, your Tesla god. Yeah. So the idea is the road and that which travels on the road. May all that be purified of contamination. Merchant god, meaning our economic activities. Make sure that that is clean. Make sure we don't cheat each other. Make sure we don't take advantage of each other. King of war gods. So war gods, we think, oh God, why do we need to even think about war gods? Here, I don't think we're saying, oh, we want the war gods so that, we will win our wars. Here, to me, I really think of this king of war gods. War gods basically is referring to when there are conflicts, then conflicts have to be resolved. In the old ways, or in still many ways today, people go to war. But we're not encouraging war. We are saying, like using strong methods to overcome problems. That kind of energy we need to cleanse. And various hosts of guests worthy of offering, we offer fragrance-scented smoke from powdered incense, a variety of food, and all that is desired. Thus, prolong life, increase glory, expand noble family lines, cause good fortune, personal strength, ability, and fame to flourish. So all the good stuff. More importantly, wish all this good stuff for all beings everywhere. Now we come to where we started last week. To you whom humans confess to, protector and refuge deities, we, the unerring patrons, beneficiaries, and our circles, confess and cleanse all negativities arisen from discursive thoughts and dualistic fixation. So this is the most important principle of this cleansing. In the end, it's purifying negative karma, purifying wrong views, purifying the kleshas, no different than from Vajrasattva practice, no different than from the 35 Buddhist confession practice, no different than from all the different confessional repentance. Like in Chinese Buddhism, there's a lot of repentance practices, Bai Chan in Chinese. This is all, whether it's Sang, this is all about purifying, cleansing. So with regards to that, then we need to know, remember what's known as the 4 powers that we have to apply for any kind of purification, cleansing practice. The power of resolve, or the power starting with, you could say, power of regret. With regards to the negative karma that we have created out of the kleshas, under the power of kleshas, we need to have the power of regret, meaning we need to recognize, the unskillful ways that we have acted due to being influenced by the kleshas. Power of regret. Then power of reliance or refuge. That means we have confidence, we have conviction that because there are those sublime beings who started like us, but they have reached complete purification. In other words, the Buddhas, the awakened ones, because of such beings, they offer us both the hope that we too can be like them, and they also offer us guidance and teachings. So we rely on them. So here in this text, again and again, it says, Ema ho gong su so. Gong su so is to say, please, you awakened beings, turn your attention to me. Help me, assist me, protect me, so that I can become like you. So that's the second power. The third is the power of remedy, which is the particular practice that we're doing. So here, the Sang ritual, this is the power of remedy. Then the fourth is power of resolve. I call these the 4 R's. Power of resolve is to resolve not to contaminate ourselves and our surroundings, not to pollute ourselves and our surroundings. So again, 3 levels of contamination or pollution: outer, inner, secret. Outer is how we damage our outer environment, how we trash it, how we dirty it, how we poison it. We have to stop that. Inner is how we create all kinds of unskillful actions. We have to stop that. Secret is our kleshas, dualistic fixations. We have to stop that. And instead, the smoke of bodhicitta, the cleansing smoke of bodhicitta, the cleansing smoke of love and compassion, and then the aromatic smoke that we burn externally. 3 levels of outer, inner, secret incense to cleanse outer, inner, secret contamination. The rest of the text we looked at last week already. So, finished. Any questions? Comments? As I wait for questions or comments, I'm going to show you easy way, in case you didn't see last week, of doing a Sang offering, just a very small one, even if you live in, especially if you live in an apartment or in a house, and and you don't have a way to burn a lot of, you don't need to create charcoal fire and big. Although I'm very happy to say that my Sang offering structure, I think if you are on Facebook, you'll see is completed now, thanks to the generosity of a good friend who offered expertise and paid for the construction of this Sang offering. It looks shaped like a stupa. I put some pictures on Facebook, completed yesterday. Now, really happy. Now I can use that. But without that, just simply something like this. Yeah, if you can see. Yeah, just a little saucer. Burn 1 stick or half a stick of Tibetan incense. Tibetan incense, because they are very thick, so it will provide you enough heat. So you break them into small segments, lay them down like this. Yeah. Lay them down like this, like pointed in the same direction, so they create enough heat gathered together. Then, if you have powdered incense, if you don't have powdered incense, just incense stick is fine. And then look for, if you can, ideally, incense stick that has a higher content of juniper or cedar. Juniper and cedar, if you want to have a more Tibetan feel to this. And then if you have incense powder, powdered incense, then you sprinkle on top. Yeah? You sprinkle on top of this. Yeah? as you sprinkle on top. You have to be patient. At first, sprinkle just a little so that you don't put out that heat, the flame at the tip of the burning incense. Then you can sprinkle above, along the entire stick of incense. Again, being careful not to snuff out. And you can just sprinkle little bit as you do the practice. And that's all. That's all you need, really. At the risk of sounding like, I'm trying to sell you more stuff, at Tibetan Spirit, we're running fairly low with all this incense because Nepal closed down all flights and cargo. We were not able to get a shipment in time. In fact, I ordered a lot of incense in this last shipment. But before the shipment was able to leave Tibet, Nepal shut down. We don't know when it's going to reopen, and even after it reopens, how soon cargo is affordable. Apparently, only about 10-15% of cargo is moving these days. So anyway.
Dr. Lai, there are some questions in the
Sure.
chat.
Go ahead.
One person asked, when reciting the text, do we continue to sprinkle incense, and do we do it at certain times?
You can, when you recite the text, yeah, you sprinkle if you want. That's all, doesn't matter that much. Huh? If it's burning away and you want to add more, you can sprinkle more. If not, it's fine, But yeah, generally, you keep it going until the whole practice is over. Sometimes I prepare this, right? And I take it outside, I put outside. Then I'm inside doing the practice, especially if it's really cold outside. But otherwise, I would sit outside and do it. It's very nice to sit outside to do it. Or when, it's no longer cold and you don't have allergies, open all the windows in your house, you can do it inside. Yeah? It's good to cleanse inside. Again, sometimes, your family, maybe other people like, oh, no, this is too smoky. I don't like this. Don't cause trouble. Go outside. What was the other question? Sorry.
Yes,
time. Generally, they say you want to do it like in the mornings. Last week, somebody said they heard somewhere that you should never do it in the afternoon. I said, I have heard of that. And in fact, there's some people who say, oh, if you do it afternoon, bad things will happen. But I also have been part of like sang offerings conducted by, very well-respected lamas who do it in the afternoon. So they don't seem to have an issue with it. More specifically, I remember the Kempo brothers, Kenshin Pelden Sherab, and who has now passed on, and his younger brother, the so-called Kempo brothers, they've done Rivo Sangcho in the afternoon, So again, as I said to last week's question, I said, in the end, where your conviction is strongest, you follow that, So maybe your lama, your specific lama, someone you trust a lot, told you not to do it in the afternoon, then don't let what I say get in the way. You just follow that, okay? But I also want to say, I also know that there are some very well-respected lamas who don't see any issues with doing it in the afternoon. I would say for myself, it would be a little bit odd to do it when it's dark and at night. Because generally, as a pattern, it's done in the morning. And that, I think, has to do with how in old Tibet, where your cooking fire is the firewood that you use, right? So every night, right, before the last person goes to bed, mom or dad, will cover the amber with ashes so that the next morning, right, you add kindling and the fire would come up again. So the idea is that when you rekindle the fire in the morning, right? What is more powerful than the very first thing when you have rekindled the fire, the source of life, quite literally, and the first thing you do is you put this offering to first cleanse. It's almost like, the principle of man shall not live by bread alone, but by the word of God. So before you even start making your bread and your tea in the morning, first you offer this cleanse. So that's why, particularly this is done early in the morning.
Dr. Lai, there's another question request here.
Mm-hmm.
Dorjé Lopön, could you make the 6 mantras and mudras to have it recorded, please?
Yeah, we will record that, but that would require some technical support. We will record and put it on the YouTube channel. But again, with those mantras, those mudras, actually better than that, if you want, you search, Gachen Rinpoche has the 6 mantras with the 6 mudras. And Gachen Rinpoche's system of the 6 mudras is a little bit different from the one that I'm familiar with. And I think this has to do with Eastern Tibet and Central Tibet, I believe, So, and when I say there is a difference, the point is there's always going to be different ways of doing things. But some difference is completely kind of like an individual's, kind of weird kind of innovation, and some is just like particular areas. Traditions that have developed in particular areas. So the way I learned those 6 mudras is from Drikung lamas that are from Central Tibet. So it's a little bit different, I've noticed, from how Gachen Rinpoche and his lamas in Eastern Tibet, how they do it. And there are recordings already where I chant this practice in Tibetan with some instruments you can find on Facebook. And maybe later we will also record and put it on the YouTube channel. Yeah. Other questions?
Lamala.
Mm-hmm.
You can you can help me for text.
To do what?
You can help me for text report Sangcho.
Rivo Sangcho, you mean the text?
Yes. You can help me nung.
Lung. Okay. So first of all, Rivo Sangcho is a very specific type of sang. And that is talking about a particular text discovered by Latsun Namkha Jigme in Sikkim. That is Rivo Sangcho, is the name of one sang offering. The one we are doing here is not called Rivo Sangcho. The one we are doing here is called Sangcho Dele Kunjung. Sangcho Dele Kunjung. Yeah, that's the name of the one that we're doing. As for the lung, lung, I don't remember if I have the lung or not. So I cannot give until I know very sure. I mean, I have done this, at different times, with Gachen Rinpoche, with other Rinpoches. But the truth is, I don't remember if I actually got the lung. So I better not say, oh, I will give the lung. Yeah. But again, Gachen Rinpoche and other Rinpoches say, this practice doesn't, even if you don't have the lung, you can do. Then, of course, when you meet any lamas that you have a good relationship with, you ask them, like, hey, do you have the lung for this particular practice? And if they say they do, then, you can request at that time. Yeah. Some practices, you know, without the lung, better not do. Some lamas will even say, don't do. In this case, I know, you know, the main one, the main lama emphasizing this practice, he said, oh, no, just do, you know, do with bodhicitta, you know, do with the right understanding, do with the right attitude, you know. Yeah, so then you can add, you know, different offerings. Yeah, so we completed. So these two parts. We will put this recording on the Drikung Dharmakirti website, so you can go back and watch and see, you know, if something that you miss. Yeah. So thank you for participating. Yes.
You can teach me six mudra offering smoke and bell and damaru.
Yeah, we'll make the recording. You know, we'll make the recording, and then we will post. So at the end, we do a dedication of the simple, powerful dedication. Bodhicitta, where it has not arisen, may it arise. Where it has arisen, let it increase and not decline. And let it increase higher and higher until we achieve. We all achieve both absolute and relative bodhicitta. Sangchö Sangcho Rinpoche Ma Gye Bana Gye Gyurji Gye Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Gong Ne Gong Du So here, you know, the quote from Karaniya Metta Sutta about loving kindness. So if we do our Sang practice, you know, with this motivation, with this thought, with this limitless heart, then definitely it will be beneficial. So I'm going to read it. It says, as a mother would risk her life to protect her child, her only child. So the idea is that we should look at, you know, every being as if we are a mother looking at our child, our only child. As a mother would risk her life to protect her child, her only child, even so should one cultivate a limitless heart with regard to all beings. With goodwill for the entire cosmos, cultivate a limitless heart. Above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without enmity or hate. Whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, as long as one is alert, one should be resolved on this mindfulness. This is called a sublime abiding, here and now. So here and now, we can abide in this heart of metta, heart of loving kindness. You have a good day. Please take care of yourself, take care of each other. We pray that this COVID-19 be pacified. More importantly, also, we pray that whatever lessons that we have learned during this period of COVID-19, we will use those lessons to make this a better world for us, for others going forward. We can focus on the negative side of things, or we can also focus on what are the lessons that we have been able to learn during this time. So may it become the source of benefit for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.